Hey everyone, welcome back. So I am absolutely thrilled you're joining me for this explainer today. We are taking a really fascinating look at the world of sustainability data. Now, I know what you might be thinking. Sustainability reporting can sometimes feel like this chaotic sea of numbers, percentages, and vague claims. But what if I told you there is a highly structured, mathematical way to make sustainability data actually make sense, specifically for the alcoholic beverages industry? Well, that is exactly what we are unpacking today.
Right off the bat, let me ask you this. How do you fairly compare the sustainability of a global brewing giant to a local winery? Imagine a massive international brewer for a second. They've got hundreds of facilities, huge distribution networks, and they're churning out millions of barrels of beer. Naturally, their total water and energy consumption is going to be astronomical compared to, say, a single, historic regional winery. But does that massive raw number automatically mean the global brewer is less efficient or less responsible? Not necessarily. And this is exactly the core problem we're going to solve today.
Okay, let's dive into this. We're going to cover the raw data problem, introduce the SASB standards, look at the 3 activity metrics, explore the magic of normalization, and finally, wrap up with why normalization actually matters.
All right, part 1, the raw data problem and why context is literally everything here. So, when companies report their environmental impact, just tossing huge numbers onto a page without any context, well, it's pretty flawed. Like, if a company says, hey, we withdrew 1 million cubic meters of water, you have literally no idea if that's incredibly efficient for their massive size or just horribly wasteful. To get this, we need to quickly nail down our vocabulary. Basically, we've got disclosure metrics on one side and activity metrics on the other. Disclosure metrics, that's your raw impact, total energy, total water, right? But to actually make sense of those massive numbers, we absolutely need activity metrics. These quantify the scale of the business operations. They're the missing puzzle piece that gives that raw data its actual meaning.
Moving on to Section 2, introducing the SASB standards and industry-specific rules.
So how exactly does the industry solve this whole comparison problem uniformly? Well, they use the SASB standards. These are overseen by the ISSB, the International Sustainability Standards Board, to give really specific industry guidance. And look, this isn't just about PR or feeling good. These standards are specifically engineered to help companies disclose risks and opportunities that could reasonably affect their cash flows, their access to finance, or their cost of capital over the short, medium, or long term.
And this is where you see how incredibly tailored this approach actually is. The SASB framework has 77 industry-specific standards, all categorized by the Sustainable Industry Classification System. Today, we're zooming in on the food and beverage sector, specifically the alcoholic beverages standard. It's custom-built for the unique realities of entities that brew, distill, and manufacture stuff like beer, wine, and liquor by transforming raw agricultural products like sugar and barley. And it totally accounts for the fact that vertical integration is all over the map in this industry, mostly because of different market regulations.
Which brings us to Section 3, the 3 activity metrics used for scaling the industry.
Now that we've got the framework down, what are the actual, concrete data points we use to figure out the scale of an alcoholic beverage company? Well, check out this table mapped out here. This is pulled directly from the SASB standard. You'll see there are exactly 3 quantitative metrics used to measure the scale of operations in this industry. Let's just walk through them one by one.
First up, we've got the volume of products sold, and that's measured in millions of hectoliters, or MHL. This is basically your ultimate baseline indicator of scale. I mean, whether you're making beer or distilling spirits, knowing exactly how much liquid you're actually selling, which is hopefully a lot, right, is the #1 way to understand the sheer size of the whole operation. The second activity metric is super straightforward. It's just a quantitative count, the number of production facilities. And as the standard points out, this is highly relevant because, massive breweries usually have multiple manufacturing facilities scattered all over to hit different regional markets. But on the flip side, vintners or distillers often just stay put at one historic location. So counting the facilities gives us a really clear picture of their operational footprint.
And the third metric is the total fleet road kilometers traveled. Think about it. When your entire business revolves around bottling heavy liquids and moving them out to consumers, transportation is a massive part of your scale. So understanding the total distance covered by an entity's fleet is absolutely vital if we want to contextualize things like fuel consumption and their overall supply chain logistics.
All right, Section 4, the magic of normalization and how it levels the playing field.
Okay, here is where the math happens, and it's actually wonderfully logical. Step 1, you grab your raw disclosure data. Let's say total water withdrawn from surface or groundwater. Step 2, you grab the matching activity metric, like that volume of products sold in millions of hectoliters we just talked about. And step 3, you simply divide the raw data by the activity metric. Boom! That gives you your intensity ratio. So instead of just knowing a company used 1 million cubic meters of water, you now know exactly how much water they used to produce just one single hectoliter of beverage.
Let's circle back to that scenario from the beginning. Without doing this math, without normalization, scenario B, our local winery, looks amazing on paper just because their total raw energy use is low. But once we divide that energy use by their tiny volume of products sold, we might actually find out they're highly inefficient per hectoliter. Meanwhile, scenario A, the massive global brewer, huge raw energy use, but thanks to economies of scale and advanced recycling systems, they might be using half the energy per hectoliter compared to the winery. So you see, normalization totally flips the script and reveals the true operational reality.
And finally, Section 5. Why normalization actually matters in the true story it tells.
So why do investors and the standards boards obsess over this math? The absolutely crucial point here is that activity metrics unlock the real story. By normalizing the data, we're finally creating real apples-to-apples comparisons across an incredibly diverse industry. It evaluates true ground-level operational efficiency instead of just punishing a big company for being big. For example, if a company discloses the percentage of its water withdrawn in regions with high water stress, normalizing that against their production facilities lets investors see exactly how exposed their operations really are to supply disruptions. It perfectly contextualizes energy grid usage, renewable energy transitions, and the massive impacts of their packaging life cycles.
I actually want to read this directly from the SASB document because it serves as our anchor. It states clearly that activity metrics quantify the scale of specific activities or operations by an entity and are intended for use in conjunction with the metrics to normalize data and facilitate comparison. Simply put, the whole endgame here is to give people useful, comparable information that reflects actual financial risk and opportunity.
So I want to leave you with this thought as we wrap up this explainer today. As sustainability reporting rapidly evolves into the global standard for businesses everywhere, how are you looking at the numbers? Are you getting distracted by the massive raw data impacts, or are you looking deeper? Are you using activity metrics to uncover their real, normalized efficiency? Because when you do, it completely changes the story, doesn't it? Thank you guys so much for exploring this with me today. Keep asking the right questions, keep looking for the structure in the data, and I'll catch you in the next explainer.